The key is that you have to remember that the most important thing you have to remember is to save it before you ever turn it off.
Right, yes.
Okay, and this obviously is going to face you.
Yeah, so then all
the
you
camera here.
Ah.
And you look to see how I look. Because the most important thing of all is that I look good.
Here, come around. Come on, it was funny.
And here's the markers, here's your envelope.
All I have to do is just, this is all I have to do is just like wherever you move or so, you know, like, and then just follow you. That's all I have to do?
That's all you have to do. And sometimes I'm really mindful that I try not to move around too much, but for the most part I'm not. So I can't help you out there.
If you see me writing, just stay still.
I mean, you could have it instead of a time sheet. You could say, "Stay freaking still."
Oh, I have that on there. I made that up
You're
today.
making the audience throw up at home.
Here's your copy. I have it.
We got a small group tonight, so it's a perfect night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. We had two major things that are keeping people away tonight. A funeral and vacation. It's like both extremes.
Oh, is this muted?
Funerals tonight. That's already pre-registered. Really? Yeah, that was a little weird. Yeah. And I also
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Nice to see you all. How's everybody tonight?
Excellent.
Everybody seems unusually happy tonight. I think that's a good thing. Is it the weather? Summer, yeah.
Beautiful day.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Great
'cause
weekend.
I feel that. I feel that in the summer. I just love the summer. It really is my favorite time. So it's good to see everybody. I don't know why it feels like it's been a long time. I know it's only
It's been 5 weeks.
It's been 5 this
Yeah,
time?
because it wasn't last week. It's usually the first week.
Oh, it did feel like a long time. Okay, okay. I knew it felt like it was longer. Thanks for that logical explanation.
How come we didn't know that?
If I could do Earth well and non-Earth well, I don't know what would become of me. I'd probably short circuit and just explode internally or something. But so I'm choosing to do the non-Earth well, and I'm going to leave the Earth up to you guys. Okay? So could you manage that for me?
That's smart.
All right. Like for example, I just misplaced my phone, and it was your responsibility to know where I misplaced it.
You have it now?
Now I found it. Okay, so you're off the hook, but that's a warning. All right, let me go over my calendar that Sue was so nice to write for me because you guys can't read my handwriting. So this month is the month that the applications are available up on my website if you are interested in applying for LIFE, Leading Intuitively for Empowerment. It's a very, very small group of people that are selected, and we have a kickoff weekend beginning on November 7th, and it ends on November 10th. It's a Thursday through a Sunday. It's very fun, very unusual, and very life-shifting. And it can be a little intense at moments. So for those of you who like to come where we are, it'll probably be in Myrtle Beach, and I highly recommend you not pencil that in as your vacation for the year. You might want to stay an extra day, but don't pencil that in as the rejuvenating vacation of the year. Okay? But it's worth it. It's fun. So we are taking applications. Applications are due by July 31st. I think I can honestly say that I've gotten feedback from everyone who has been through the course, and they've had some kind of a shift in their life that seems to be self-perpetuating. I think it's, we listen to all this information, we read books, we go see speakers, we go to events, but if all it is giving you a good time in the moment and your life is exactly the same a month later or a week later, then it doesn't really have much long-term benefit. But I do notice that the LIFE program is one that seems to, I don't know what it is about it, but boy, does it stay with you for a really, really long time afterward. So it's worthy to take a look at it. Let's see, on August 6th, back by popular demand, is there anyone in the room that was at the summer sunset soiree on the beach last year? Okay, so we have some people. Last year, at the end of July, I did a seminar on the beach in Towed Beach, in where I think it's Sag Harbor, sort of. That's the area, right? Sag Harbor. And we had a fantastic time. I bring dinner. I bring s'mores. Derek brings guitars and bongos
nice.
and lots of fun. And we have fire pits. You get to listen to me speak for a while. We eat, and then we just hang out and have a great time mixing and mingling, and you stay as long as you want. It really was, it blew me out of the water last year how much fun it was. So back by popular demand, August 6th, and I hope to see you there. And if you have a good singing voice or you have some instruments, then I would suggest that you bring your voice and you bring your instruments, because that will prevent me from singing. We do like people to enjoy their time there after I'm done speaking, okay? So, you commented on that on my post yesterday. It really is. I can clear a room by singing. I definitely won't do it. The next event then is the Lodge at Woodloch. That's the luxury spa that I'm at every 2 months. The dates this time are on Labor Day weekend. I'll be there from Friday through Monday night. So if that's something that interests you, it's a great time. It's not one of my personal 3-day seminars that I give where you come and hang out with me for 3 days. I'm the entertainment every night. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, I will entertain you one way or another. But then during the day, they have everything a la carte that you could possibly want to do, that you just pick and choose what you want to do. And all of your choices, whether it's taking a photography class or an art class or anything at all. Tons and tons of exercise classes. It's all included in your fee. Your food and every activity that you do is included in your overnight fee. So it's kind of a nice way to go. You don't have to worry about anything, and it's all taken care of for you. They have one, I don't get a lot of time off when I'm there, but they do have this one class that if you get there, I think it would be really cool. And it's called Drumming for Fitness. Anyone ever take anything like that? The last 2 times I've been there, I've had clients that met with me to do a session, and they came like earlier in the day. They had taken Drumming for Fitness, and what they do is they just set up all these drums, and they have this most incredible aerobic experience where it gets to the point that they're sweating and having a blast and creating music and being with people. So if you do go, please go to that class for me and then come back and tell me how it was. Or better yet, even get it going somewhere here, and then I can attend. That would be kind of fun, right? And then somewhere in here, am I not reading it? Is the Enlightenment Power Group that I have in the city. So it's I think it's the 9th of August. That's not written there. And then back here, we're not having a meeting here in August, so you can come to the Sunset Seminar Soiree instead. Okay? And that's about it. Anybody have any questions? We're all good? Okay. Let's begin by having anybody who has anything that they want to share about how the universe communicated with you since the last time we were together. Does anybody have any really cool stories or happenings?
I had a friend, my very close friend. She was, I guess, a soul sister. She passed a couple of months ago, and she was very ill. So the year before she passed, she was staying with me, so she could get some care and some company and handle some of her stuff. But she was a wonderful spirit and fun. I learned amazing things. I feel that I got more than I even gave because of the lessons I learned from that experience with her. But there were times, because we were 2 women, and once she started to feel well, we had a hard time, 2 women in the same house, so there'd be a few struggles here or there. But knowing her for close to 30 years, it just sustained all those years of friendship. But there was a moment, about almost a month ago, where I hesitated and I thought for a moment. I said, because I loved the idea that I had that unconditional love with someone that was not a blood relative.
Right.
It was that love,
Right.
You love it and you can feel the love. And so every now and then, that's how I would comfort myself with her loss. And then this thought came in, and I said, I hope she didn't get mad. I hope she still felt like that toward me. The way, all of a sudden that doubt came in. And about a week and a half later, I had a dream. I won't go through the whole process of the dream, but at one point, a phone rang in the dream, and I knew it was her. And I'm struggling to get this phone, and that's on a boardwalk. I don't know what I was reaching.
It all makes sense.
And all of a sudden, in my ear, I heard in her voice, "I never stopped loving you."
Aww.
And I'm still just trying to find it because I want to continue talking. And I woke up and I was like, a mess, crying. It was so amazing experience.
That's a great story. That's a great story. I love that.
No question.
No question.
No question whatsoever.
No question. No question. And that one of the things that I really love about us having a community of people that can get together and talk about all of this is that you always have a place where you can go, that you can share these stories, and no one is going to make any suggestion whatsoever that your interpretation is false, or that it didn't happen that way, or, oh dear, you're just grieving, or anything like that. They know, and we all know, everyone in this room knows. We know what a visit is, and we know how easy it is to have a visit and to KNOW it without having to doubt it in any way. And one of the easiest places for a soul to visit us is in our dreams, because that's when we are untethered. Our soul's roaming around free. We're not doing all of that normal analytical reasoning and saying, is this possible? So they just kind of slip in the night, give us a hug, tell us that, yes, I will always love you, and then they leave you with that energy, and you know it forever. More and more, I'm finding that everyone has had something that has happened, even if they're going to be the ones that are the biggest doubters outwardly, or, not taking ownership whatsoever about the fact that there's an eternal partner with us that's always working with us, and that love never dies, and all this. And when I'm alone with people, especially men, when I'm alone with men, they admit things that happened when they were younger. I never told this to anyone. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I get it all the time. But let me tell you what happened when I was 17. And I'm like, you're 60 years old. You never told this to another person, and this happened when you were 17? Because we are embarrassed that people aren't going to appreciate it or support the positive energy of our knowingness. And there's always the risk, too, that after you separate from the moment, that you'll experience human doubt, and you don't need anyone to erase it for you. So it is kind of keeping it close to you, not worrying about being judged by others, and then also making sure that nobody tramples on it. But it is great that we have more and more places that we are talking about this. Sometimes I do like to just sit back and see how far the world has come since the very first day that I stepped out and said I'm going to do this for a living. It's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable how much the world has changed. There are things that I can do and I can say that I couldn't say when I started in 2007. There are places that will invite me in to speak that wouldn't invite me in to speak in 2007, 8, or 9. And it's remarkable. I think the latest place, sometimes this even surprises me, is the Program Managers Institute. Like, really? Have you read my bio? It's like funny. It's very funny. But most people, at least in our culture, in our area, they're starting to get a little bit of a hint of something. I'm not in a situation very often anymore that I'm with people who aren't intentionally on this journey of discovery. It happens rarely now. So when I am in a position where I'm with people that aren't intentionally on this journey, I get to see the difference between where they are now in general in comparison to where they were in general in 2006. So an example would be someone who has no idea what I do for a living. And as I'm listening to him, he lost his wife a year ago, and the guy would be someone that you would really know is not on an intentional spiritual growth path whatsoever, okay? And he still says, yeah, but I know everything happens for a reason. I know that she's still with me. And I mean, you couldn't be any more separate from someone who was seeking as he was. And everything about the way that he was living his life, you knew that he was very separate from that thought process. And so it is seeping in everywhere, that if you live and you breathe, you're picking up some of these messages and you're spewing them to other people when you know that the moment is right, that they need to hear these things. It really is just a matter of time until that's the norm. It's just a matter of time until that's the norm. And I find that very exciting.
Karen,
Yes.
I just share an experience happened recently. My puppy was hit by a car and passed away. And I was like so shocked by how many people, when I was talking about it, how many people said to me, this happened for a reason. You don't know the reason, yet you'll find out. And I'm separate from my friends here.
Yeah.
Like same thing, that I was shocked. I would never thought
Yes.
like that. So I guess it is getting
Yes.
more out there.
Yes. Yeah. And even if you think about it, I'll get to you in 1 second, but even if you think about it, you can almost remember some conversations that people had after 9/11, which was 2001. And people weren't saying everything happens for a reason, right? They weren't. They just simply weren't saying that. Even if we don't know the reason or the benefit today in this, it will unfold. Take courage in that. No one was saying that. They really weren't. Yeah, Kathy.
I just sometimes have these, as time goes on, like more and more immediate manifestations of thoughts. And an example was a few weeks back when I need my air conditioner put in, the very first day of the heat wave. And the guy that usually helps me with stuff like that, my friend, moved out of the country. So I have basically no guy help, right? Salvador. And so it's me and my 92-year-old father. So I asked the neighbor, could you put that in for me tonight? And he's done that before. Okay. Well, night comes, no air conditioner, no gym. And during the day, I had a fleeting thought. The only person I could think of to help, possibly, is Aguileo's roommate, Jorge. But I don't know where he is, or at work, or, his time schedule. I haven't seen Jorge in 6 months.
Okay.
So, at night, there's somebody on the door. Dad says, Kathy, there's a man at the door. And I'm, Jim, he's coming over. It was Jorge.
Wow.
I'm not friends with Jorge.
What are you doing there?
He came to say hello.
Ooh, wow.
Wow.
Pretty freaking weird.
If you want me to do anything, just tell me first so I know why I'm doing it. Right?
But it's not. He was my friend's roommate.
That's amazing.
And he
That's
helped me
great
with a couple
story.
things in the wintertime relating to sending things to El Salvador.
Yeah. I see it more and more that you either don't know that this exists at all, or you're somewhere in the spectrum of learning and discovering more and more. Then all of a sudden there's that shift where you don't know it in your mind that we have this partnership in the universe, but you know it in your being, and you accept the partnership. And then all of a sudden it feels as though you are the center of the universe, and the world is spinning around you because you can make things happen in a positive way. You can manifest things.
But is it your thoughts going out there, or God just saying, like, I'm going to give this girl a break because, like, the neighbor's never going to show, and she's going to roast to death? No, I don't know if
Magnetic energy is never about God giving us a break. It's simply not. As far as I know, all that is God, the Creator, the universe, whatever. I understand that source is really busy. So they're not sitting there saying, 3 crises in 1 week. Let's just give her a break. What does happen, though, is that your magnetic energy is co-creating your reality. And when you shift something that you're thinking or feeling or believing, then the universe responds to your new magnetic energy because of what you think, feel, and believe. When I talk about the formula, I think I should probably get that, right?
Oh, I'll get it up.
I think the person's in the wrong place, though, so that's my intuition.
Karen, that wasn't a premonition. It was more that because she thought it and that energy went out that it happened.
Yeah. And also, you have to remember, too, that you're not an isolated being as well. If somebody shows up that you just thought about, well, you're receiving information about, just to prompt you to think about that person. They could also be receiving information from their guides to think about you, which could be the thing that's causing them to connect with you. So there's such a beautiful painting hand in this canvas. It's not just yours. It's not just yours.
Then there was a flip side to it. I looked a gift horse in the mouth with Jorge, putting in my air conditioner, because this week I was in a funk and saying, somebody helps you with one thing and then they mess up something else, or in life you take 2 steps forward and 1 back. And I was saying, I bet Jorge came over for all the wrong reasons. And you know what? I was taking a shower and the shower hose burst open and water went everywhere.
You didn't have to wait for that answer, did you?
But
it's so true. Yeah, I think it's
Is
great
that related?
to know. Oh, absolutely, it's related. It's completely related. It's completely related. the universe has ways to get our attention. Sometimes it's going to get our attention very, very quickly when we're having a non-productive thought or a thought that's not supporting our reality. And it's like if you have a 2-year-old and they do something right now, are you going to say, now's not a good time, I don't feel like talking about it or managing, but I'll talk to him at like 6 this evening. And then you pull the kid over and say, you remember in the morning when you blah, blah, blah? It has no effect whatsoever. So if the universe wants to talk to you 12 hours later about something that you thought 12 hours ago, it won't have any effect. But if it can come in and snare your attention in that moment, then it can cause you to say, hey, what's up? What was I thinking? What was I thinking? A lot of times when I'm working with someone and we identify a guide or they talk about somebody that they love and they lost, that they want to know them more in their physical life right now, and we're able to find out what symbols are used for that guide to communicate with that person. One of the ways that you get to see how they communicate with you once you know what the symbols are is that they are there for spikes. That's what brings them in. If you don't bring them in to talk to them, you're going to bring them in with spikes in your emotions. So if you plummet or you soar, they're going to be there, and they're going to try to use those symbols to communicate with you. So for example, if the symbol that you have with your father is a cardinal, and you're sitting there and you're gazing out the back door and you're thinking, I can't believe Jim got the promotion, life sucks, I can't believe how hard I work and I never get anywhere, this is ridiculous, and then all of a sudden the red cardinal comes in front of your face, you're going to stop. It'll give you a break in that cycle, that circle of non-productive thinking, and you're going to say, hi, Dad, and then you might want to compel yourself to say, what's up, Dad? And then you'll go to, I was just beating myself up and giving myself some information that was not optimistic and not freeing and not hopeful, so maybe he would like me to flip it around, and that's exactly what it is that he's doing. And likewise, now if you came to the same door and you're like, that was fantastic, I feel so good, I just feel so good, I don't know what it is, I just feel like something good is going to happen, and then you see the cardinal. The spike in the emotion, too, will allow your dad to come in and say, good job. Keep riding that wave of thinking in a way that's productive, that can create your reality the way that you want your reality to be. That being said, since I got on the topic, we have to, I know I've said this in here before, but it's always worth remembering when I bring it up again, that you have to remember that your symbols don't have to be decided before someone passes away, okay? I find it so entertaining that someone can sit there and say, I know we are connected, I know he's still in my life, I know he hears me, I know we're talking. And then the next sentence can be, I wish I had thought of a symbol with him before he died. Like, well, didn't you just say that you guys are still, functioning as two communicating souls? Yes. Well, tell him the symbol now, okay? We are eternal. You can tell him the symbol now. And that's what you do. And when you do that, sometimes we feel insecure about that because now we don't know. Did we choose the right symbol? Did he hear me? Was he awake? Was he somewhere else? What was he doing? So then you don't see the symbol for a long time. So then you say, well, throw the symbol away and tell him a new one. Or say, well, why don't we have 3? Or why don't we have 5 until I really know we're on board with this. Make it easy for yourself. Don't make it hard for yourself. They want to be a part of our lives. They want to communicate with us. They want you to know that they're happy, that they love you, that they are in a state of bliss, that they're always here for you. So don't set it up so that it's difficult for them to express this to you. Set it up so that it's easy for them to express this to you, okay? I've had sessions where people come in with an agenda and they don't tell me what the agenda is. And one of the reasons I don't do mediumship as a specialty is because of things like this. Like I had someone come in and I didn't know, who had passed away, so I'm doing the whole session and we're 55 minutes into it and I'm seeing no signs of pleasure from a woman at all. It's like, all right, well, whatever. And then I said something, I'm just going on and on, getting whatever I get. And then I said something and she's like, that's it. I said before I left, I spoke to my mother, and I said, if she can say something about a silver teapot, then I will know you are really here. I'm like, how much of a unilateral conversation do I have to have until I say silver teapot? Come on, cut me some slack here, you know? I feel like I'm on the game where you go into your bag, who has a bobby pin. What was that game? Right? Let's make a deal. Like, I got to pull out everything, so I hit upon the one thing that you declare to the universe is the only thing that will make you happy about this session. But, you know, don't make it hard for yourself. Make it easy for yourself. Make it easy, because they do want to connect, and they do want to know that we know that they are here.
I had a question. If you're on, I had anesthesia because I had to have a tooth pulled. And what a trip I took, you know, but it was like spiritual. All these colors were moving, and it was like I was in this, I don't know what I was in, but they was these colors, all colors, moving and swaying and interacting.
Nice.
And it was great. And it I tried to wake up and I was like, but it was something about that was, even though they were all moving, it was like not a ton, I guess, I don't know, but it was like as if I was standing here in this thing and I was in it and they were going like this. But within that, although they were all different colors moving together, I knew that there were different entities or beings individually but together. Even though it was interacting together.
Yeah.
And I realized I didn't want to leave. I was like, it felt good. I wanted to stay there. But I was under, you know. So is that, do you have those experiences, or is that just the drug?
Probably the drug. Well, what the drug does, what drugs do is it quiets the rational part of your thinking, the part that's born of the earth and will die of the earth, the thing that has to make everything linear and have categories and put everything into a sense of order. The universe has no order. The universe is not necessarily going to be exactly the way that you want it structured. And acceptance of the fact that it's not exactly the way that you want it to be, that we're not controlling it in that regard, is what you get to experience sometimes when you're on drugs. So when you let go of all of the limitations, like I can't talk to dead people, I am a body, I am isolated, I can't do this and I can't do that. When you get rid of all of them, you get to have these experiences of knowingness that, just like the visit during a dream, no one can take it away from you. You know, we will tell people that it's a hallucinogenic or it's this or that. The challenge is that with some kind of an hallucinogenic or something that shifts you from your left brain to your right brain, we can't control how chemically it's going to react with any one person. If there was a way to control it, then we would be able to use drugs to have people understand their interconnectedness and to feel more love and to live more joyfully. But since you can't control it, it's not a good technique to use to discover the spiritual part of our existence. But at least you get, I know, right? But thank goodness for the 60s, because at least it got us going, all right? At least it got us going. At least it got us going. And where was I? Drugs. Yeah, drugs. But what happens is a lot of people will have a moment of something that creates the quieting of the mind, whatever that is. If they're not compelling the quieting mind to come on by doing something that's meditative or helpful to them, a lot of people have that moment where, you know, maybe it's an out-of-body experience because you were declared dead for a couple of minutes, or maybe it is a drug experience, or maybe it is just kind of feeling disconnected from everything after someone you know that you love dies, and in that non-physical place where your brain is at, because you can't digest earth at that moment, then you get to have another experience. But a lot of people have these moments where they get out of the physical brain and they get to notice that there's something more to existence than just the way we have to keep things in order, or the way that we like to keep things in order. I've had tons and tons of, when I'm out of my body, I have really amazing experiences, and I always say that there's levels like level 1, 2, this is just the way that I classify it because it helps me understand what I'm doing. Level 1 is basically you're just run-of-the-mill person. The level of consciousness where maybe every now and then you can say something like everything happens for a reason, but pretty much you're just, bound to the earth. Level 2 is when you dream. So dreaming, it quiets your thinking part and allows you to have soulful experiences, and if you can recall those soulful experiences, then you get to dabble in a state of consciousness that you generally don't have while you're awake. That's one of the reasons why dreams are so strange or filled with variety, or they don't seem to make sense, or you have a phone on the beach, or whatever's going on. It's because you've removed the limit that there has to be this categorization and earth structure of what you expect here. Then there's the next one where you kind of can just leave like this lifetime. It's when you're conscious that this can happen. When you really start to know how to quiet your mind or meditate or use yoga as a practice or sit by the beach, when you really get yourself out there into that zone where you're not necessarily connected to thinking or worrying or planning, there's a place where you can almost sense things like past lives, or deja vu is a great example, except that for deja vu it's under a second. But when you get to level 3, you can kind of enter into those spaces a little bit more, whether it's through hypnosis or meditation or whatever. So I'm never really at level 1 anymore. I'm always more in level 3. But there are times that I am so far removed from my body that my consciousness is it feels completely disconnected from my body. I'm conscious of my body, and I'm conscious of Karen. Karen feels separate to me, and I'm traveling totally aware of Karen. And when I get there at a level 4, the things that happen, I'm actually capable of taking out a pen and paper when I'm there. It's like I have 2 brains or something. I don't know what happened. I can write down things that happen, and I will write down things that happen because I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, anything that happens to me in a level 4 is incontrovertible. I know it is the wisdom of the universe with no confusion whatsoever. And sometimes it's experiences, sometimes it's knowledge, sometimes it's conversations with non-physical beings, but oftentimes it's an experience. So I'll be separate from my body. I always say that I'm in the energy realm, just to kind of give people a visual. So I'm in the energy realm, and sometimes I have no idea earthly time, how long I'm having the experience, because when I'm in that experience, there is no such thing as time. So what I can tell you about the experience could take me hours to tell you what happened. I might have been separated from my body for 4 minutes or 14 minutes. I don't even know. I don't even know how long I'm there. It doesn't even relate to what I experience when I'm out. But going back to what you were saying, Elaine, one time, and this was very cool, I was in a level 4, and one of my primary guides, 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week guides, was with me, and I feel the sensations in my body. Every cell is ignited when I'm at a level 4. I'm in a state of bliss and ecstasy that's better than any drug trip I've ever heard of. And when I'm in that state, I can feel all of the sensations and have all the images. So this one time, I was pretty new in this journey, so I was still learning about one versus all, and all versus one, and we are all connected, and we are one. And I was really struggling with it because I love Scott, but I don't want to be Scott, and I love my beautiful friend here, but I don't want to be her. So I kind of was like pushing it away. We are all one, like I just want to be me. I don't want to have to be you or you or you. So I was really battling with it. And then so what happened was the soul came in and we became one. We became one. And what I experienced was a vaporization of my body and a vaporization of his body that if you could look at it from the outside, it was like smoke, but colorful smoke, all swirling together into one shape. I shared his consciousness, His consciousness wasn't separate from me. We were seeing through my eyes and his eyes at the same time, and he was seeing through mine and his at the same time. And yet, even though I was sharing all of his essence and experiencing it simultaneously with him as he was experiencing it with me, I still knew that I was unique. So I knew that even though the vapors were wrapping and moving and emerging, I still knew there was a distinctness about me that I found incredibly comforting. I loved that there was a uniqueness about me. So I got to find out what it really means to say, we are one. Now I get it and I accept it and I know it, that we are one, and in that oneness, you are unique. You have an essence, but it doesn't prevent you from knowing and being with fully the essence of others. And I know that when they give me experiences, I'm just kind of scratching the surface of them because we can't really wrap our head around what it is really like. But now, just try to think about being in the energy realm and having this experience with multiple souls at the same time. I mean, the level of sharing and ecstasy and appreciation and comfort and co-creating, it's just, you can't even imagine feeling like that. If you do a project with someone and you're high-fiving someone at the end of the project, or you reached a goal, you can feel it a little bit on earth, but not to the level of you being able to see through someone else's eyes and be their consciousness. Not just walk in their shoes, but to be their consciousness. And so what you experience, I'm giving you legs here, that even though you don't have words for what it was one glimpse into what our non-physical reality really is like. The other thing that kind of always annoyed me in the beginning was that I couldn't stand that the energy realm was just energy. Because, you know, as hard as life was back then, I still liked it. Like, I liked to be able to taste an orange. You know, I liked to hear Derek play his guitar. You know, I liked to feel the sun. I liked being physical, and I didn't want to go back to the energy realm and have anyone take that away from me, right? Because I felt like someone would be taking it away from me. Like, why would I have to be disconnected from those things that I really love? And what I've come over years to truly understand is that we came second. All the stuff that we do here and feel here and touch here and experience through our physical senses, we're doing it in the energy realm all the time. But our conscious energy created our ability to experience it in the physical, not reverse. We had to think it and be it and feel it and experience it first within our consciousness in order to be able to collectively project it into the human physical realm. So anything you can do here, you can do there. But the difference is that there, you know you are creating your reality. Here, earth amnesia makes you forget that you are projecting your reality. That's the only difference between here and there. And the fact that we have access to negativity here, which is just a blast. Other than that, it's yeah, that one's fun, right? Someone's going to ask something. Anthony.
I just wanted to share an experience I had in the last couple of days. It's really been over a month. My car needed to get some significant work, and my car is my big part of my job. I drive around all day long. And it took me to a transmission gentleman we know for a while. It was over a month period of time. I must have been in there 2 or 3 different times. Had some conversations with the owner. And I went in on day before yesterday to pick up the bills for all the repair work he did. And he wasn't there, but I had this strange feeling like there was something either on my shoulder or behind me that I just couldn't figure out. And it was there with me the time before. I turned around, and on the wall, I find out that he has contributed an article. He's in one of the chicken soup for the soul books. And then also then he received a letter from the church site and thanking him for the repair work after Sandy and everything else.
Oh, wow.
So I went back in, today's Wednesday, right? Okay, I don't remember the days anymore, I really don't. So I went in this morning, I went in yesterday morning, and I had space in my schedule. I didn't realize why, my first appointment wasn't going to be till 10 o'clock, which is highly irregular, but I knew it was to see him. So I went in to collect the bill, and we're going through things, and I said, and I brought some books in with me, because I knew I just had to give it to him and his wife. So I said, his name is Pat, I said, Pat, I explained the same things I just did here. And he looks at me and he goes, are you spiritually connected? And I'm going, well, more than you would know. And it was, I saw this flush of energy, just negative, just leave him, just his whole face. And he goes, man, do I need to speak to you?
Oh, wow.
And I said, I said, let's get through this week. I'll give you a call next week. We'll go have coffee. And I said, and then we just chatted a few things. And he goes, there's just too much, talk about work and all these things. But I understood what it was, and it was about quieting. It's about getting his mind to be quiet. Yeah. Although his work is his work and his job, he's got.
He had to be pretty intuitive, though, to even know to knock on your door like that. That's kind of an awkward moment, right?
No, but the difference is I understood.
Had the courage to do it. Yeah,
I'm consciously aware that he asked a question, I knew that I had to step forward. And he healed my car, now I need to help him heal his mind.
Yeah, that's really cool. Very cool.
It is really cool.
How was the bill?
Did you get a Healing Your Mind discount on the bill?
You know what? Believe it or not, because the first bill was for my exhaust system that had 2 catalytic converters. He actually knocked about $500 off the labor on that alone, because he said, I can't charge you the labor because it didn't help fix the bigger problem that was needed. So, yeah, he did knock off about $500 off the bill. It was a big bill, but trust me, it was all being taken care of. That's a whole other stuff.
So does everyone understand what I was saying about how everything here manifested after we had a conscious thought about it in the energy realm? It helps you to remember things. Like you think things are conflicting with your purpose here, or you think things are in the way, or you think there's something that shouldn't be here. You got to remember that it's our collective conscious energy that created the projection of everything in our physical existence. Everything. From our ability to see through eyes, to hear through ears, to have this table give the illusion of being solid. Everything that exists here has been projected by the soul, by the collective soul's energy to be able to create. The universe didn't create itself. Conscious energy created our world as it exists and everything in it. It's kind of an interesting way of looking at things differently.
But you don't look at it like a higher power?
Well,
contributing.
My feeling is that I say all that is, a creator, whatever it is. I think that source is the equivalent of the vibration of love, and that it has a consciousness, but that every single living matter is a derivative of that source. We're not separate from that source. We are the light of that source. So it's not separate. It's not as though there's some, person-looking kind of male entity that's got a magic wand and doing all of this. Oh, a rabbit. Ooh, a rabbit. How about we put the rabbit in a pocket? No, let's call it a kangaroo. No, okay. It's not like that. It's that everything spins off of that loving conscious energy. When there's a lot of love, it overflows and it can't be contained. And the overflow of abundance becomes everything that spins off it from its original source. The challenge on Earth is that we, as a point of light of that original source, forget that we are love. We forget it. And we forget that you are it, and you are it, and you are it. But when we all remember it, then we will love ourselves fully, and then all of that nasty stuff that goes on around us just starts to dissolve. We're not separate from that either. I haven't personally had the experience where in a level 4 I knew my direct and vivid connection to the consciousness of that energy, but I have had the experience where that consciousness communicates with me. All right? So, I never shared it with anyone in the first couple of years because I really was still trying to tread that fine line where people would think I was a little normal. And so I didn't share it. But then as I'm doing this stuff and I hear people are talking about conversations with God and they're reading it like we used to read, "Are you there, Margaret? It's me," or whatever. "Are you there, God? It's Margaret?" Like today it's like conversations with God. I'm like, really? All right, so it's not so strange. But you can connect. Like when I tell people to ask a question and to choose where you want to send that question to, you can choose. If you believe God is a God source, you want to call it the Creator, you want to call it the universe, you want to call it love, send your question there. You're going to get an answer. It's not that you only have a direct line to your past grandmother or a friend of yours that died. You have a direct line to where everybody has a direct line because you are that line. You are a part of that consciousness. We're not going to say, you got to work on personal development a little bit longer before I give you the Creator's phone number, okay? You gotta work, right? And I'll tell you when you're ready, but it's right here. It's right here. Like my kids always used to say, how did you finally, how did you finally get to talk to Santa? I'm like, well, you get the phone number when your first baby is born. What other explanation? And I dare you to refute that. I dare you to refute that. We'll see. See what happens. But it's not that way. You are everything, and everything is you, and you are unique and original, and you will always be unique and original, even when you are not in your body. You will still be that consciousness. Anyone else had a question over here? No, we're good. All right. I always, everybody knows that things come to me in multiples when it feels like people are not aware of something that can benefit them to become aware of. And there has been a theme that's been coming up a lot over the last 2 weeks with clients. So I decided that would be what I'm going to talk about. Last year, I don't remember when it was, but during one group here, I talked about my journey, like how it began and how I got to be where I am, and I went into a lot of detail about it, and the time went so fast, I think I did like 20% of it instead of 100% of it, so I don't completely remember which parts of it I had talked about, but since there is this theme about the path of awakening that seems to keep coming up over the last couple of weeks, I think it's worthy to talk about it. Anytime something comes in repeat to me like that, I know it's worth looking at. I've never been a big fan of airy-fairy words or language. Everybody knows that as well. But the one word I can't find a word that's any better is the word enlightenment. It really, it self-contains all of its knowledge of what it is. It's letting the light in. And if you see love as light, if you see the energy source of all that exists as light, and you know that we are light as well, then when you are becoming enlightened, it's simply recalling what you were born with. What you already knew is enlightenment. And when I started this, from the first opening on 9/11 until the time I dedicated myself to figure out how to do this, I never believed in enlightenment. I thought it was just like a airy-fairy way to say that somebody is a little wiser than somebody else. But I didn't understand that there's really a systematic approach to removing the masks and layers that separate you from remembering yourself as a soulful being and all of the knowledge that comes with remembering yourself as a soulful being. And I think the easiest way to see it, and my guides show it to me like this all the time because it makes it so much easier to understand and to integrate, it really is like climbing a mountain, all right? And when you are on the ground, how far you can see is pretty limited, and especially if you have some forests and trees around, and then this darn mountain is blocking your view on that side, it is not a lot that you can realize. Just like you're not going to be able to see what's going on the street in front of you because there's walls. You can't see that far. But if you were to climb a little bit more, then you get to see a little bit more. Eventually you'll be over the tree tops. And as you get higher, even your peripheral will start to take you around the side of the mountain. So truly, when you get to the top of that mountain, then you're going to have a 360-degree field of view so that you can see things from a whole perspective. 360 is whole. And you also have the added perspective that you can still see up, because you were seeing up here anyway, unless you were obscured by some branches or trees or something. You could still see up. Now you can see out in every direction, but you can also now see down. So you're getting, everything on Earth is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and your field of view is getting wider and wider and wider. And sometimes, I love taking off and landing at night, because I love to think about people in regard to how many I can see as I ascend. So at first you're seeing cars look like cars, and then they're starting to look like Hot Wheels, and then a pool is starting to look like a little toy, and then you start to think, like, in this neighborhood, how many people are home from work or cooking dinner or walking their dog? And you go a little higher, it's like that whole village. Look at that one water tower that's serving 50,000 people, and you keep going higher. Your ability to conceive what human life is like gets broader and broader and broader and more encompassing. So enlightenment helps you to perceive what's really happening in reality from a whole new level. But when you are the one walking on Earth and your feet are only moving around underneath the trees and hitting the mountain, you can't get that bigger perspective. It's like when I was a kid, I don't remember my parents saying it, but it was really common for parents to say, there's starving kids in Ethiopia, eat everything on your plate, right? Well, a little kid's butt is in the chair, and they're not high enough to see Ethiopia, so they can't relate to the Ethiopian plight. But if they ascend, then they'll comprehend hunger, and maybe as an adult they'll choose to take the amount of food that they know they will eat. With ascension, you start to have a perspective where you can take in more than just your human experiences within your day-to-day context. But what I want to really talk about in this metaphor is that the one thing that I am still seeing is just this big secret for people. And I know one of the reasons I'm seeing it so much in the last month is because there are people who came onto the train that we're on together physically. Some came on in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Everyone jumped on the train somewhere. So some people are in the beginning of the train and some people are at the end of the train, but we don't move only where we come on. Some people are going to jump from one car to another and jump up to 2008 train, and other people are going to, just stay stuck at 2010. So even within that context of how long you've been doing the journey with this group, you're going to be at your own space on that train. But the one thing nobody talks about is getting stuck. Getting stuck. Because we have this sense that there's a place to go, and maybe I am like the poster child for the place to go, and I model that, and I know that everybody can get there, and it's not an illusion. It's real. You guys know it's real because by now you guys all know how authentic what I say is. So maybe I'm what it is that you think you want. Maybe what I say life is like being here at whatever height I'm at. I don't know what it is. I certainly don't think I'm done by any means. But when you have that as your bar, if you don't feel yourself advancing toward that bar and you hit a plateau, or you feel stuck, or you get blasted with some negativity and emotions that you can't process based on negative stimulants from Earth, it really makes you feel like a failure. And I'm amazed how many people will stay in secret about their path on this spiritual ascension, and when they are not getting to the next moment, or they're not satisfied with their own, I don't want to say control of their emotions, but allowing their emotions to support only emotions above the line, when they feel these inconsistencies with being a spiritual being, they keep it to themselves. And there's a lot of reasons that they keep it to themselves. Number one, they feel shame. Number two, they don't know that it's normal, so they don't even know that they can talk to the people who are right there with them about it, or who have just been going through it, because that person wasn't talking about it either. They're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid that they're going to be stuck there forever and ever and ever. And if you talk about it, or you admit that you're feeling, repressed, depressed, separated, whatever it is you might be feeling, you're kind of afraid that you're going to give it more weight, and it's going to become more permanent, and that you're not opening a door. So you create this mad rush, almost like a desperate need to ascend. And there's nothing more non-productive than a desperation. Nothing. It is resistance itself. It is resistance. It's the opposite of allowing. Desperation is the opposite of allowing. So you can't get yourself out of a situation like this by willing it away, or commanding it to go, or doing something that you think will be the complete way to obliterate it. Just to give you an example, I have a client who was going through some understandable challenges as she was growing her business. She didn't have a frame of reference for getting beyond where she was operating at, even though where she was operating at was really, really great, and even beyond what she had witnessed from someone else, but she didn't have a frame of reference to get to the next phase. So if you can't figure it out, sometimes you're just going to keep creating spins to keep you exactly where you are for a little while. So as she's going through this, she's going through it for like 6 months, no growth in her company, she starts to feel very desperate. So she decides to go on a yoga retreat, and that way she can get balanced again. And she feels that on this yoga retreat, she's going to do the yoga, but she's also going to spend hours and hours, sitting. I don't remember what island it was on, but she's just going to sit and reflect and think and let her guides talk to her and figure out what to do with her business. So she's got this whole thing going. Now, the issue is that she had all of this angst, and her solution was her 5 days at yoga heaven. Do you know how much pressure she put on yoga heaven? I'm glad I didn't operate yoga heaven, because I really want her there. And what wound up happening was she got like the most annoying person in the room share. When she would walk into a quiet room where you're not supposed to speak, people were talking loudly about the food. I thought it was vegetarian! And she's like, how on earth can I be in this yoga retreat? And everybody is so irritating, and they're all so annoying, and they never stop complaining, and they never stop being in my space. So when she got back from the yoga retreat, she had a session with me, and I think it was the first relief she got, because her guides were able to tell her that, do you realize how much pressure you put on yourself to have every spiritual thing happen that you want to happen in that 5 days? You can't postpone it any more than you can postpone working 70 hours a week and having 2 weeks of vacation a year and having all of your fun for the whole entire year in those 14 days. You're supposed to have fun throughout the year and have a different kind of fun when you go on vacation. Just like you're supposed to enjoy a spiritual life to the way that feels comfortable on a daily basis. And then if you do go to a yoga retreat, you might get to go from level 3 to 4 or 2 to 3. You might get to get that extra surge. But you can't put it all on this one moment. We want to live it so that it doesn't become filled with angst, so it doesn't become filled with desperation. But what I want to show you is what ascension really looks like, okay? This is not ascension. There's never been a human being on earth that has ever ascended that way. It doesn't happen. It's not possible. This is what ascension looks like.
I'm so glad.
And here, right there, see this little tiny spot right there? That's the gain. Look at the movement and look at the realized gain. That's what ascension looks like.
For everybody.
Yes, it does. How much of this goes on at any given moment is, that's up for grabs. You might have some real smooth periods, you might have a bigger gain, but especially in the beginning, this is exactly what it looks like. Exactly what it looks like. And then, on top of all of this, then as you are getting up the mountain a little, there's no more ground to walk around and pace and flit and float. So now you got to cut into the mountain and sit there in the middle of the mountain. So now the sun is blocked. You can't go up because you're sitting there, and you just sit. Absolutely nothing is happening except you're reflecting in the fact that you're here instead of here. The only thing that's happening is you are here and you want to be here. So you're feeling bad about yourself, you're feeling like a failure, and you're getting yourself very, 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 very unhappy. Right? That's ascension, people.
Yeah!
That's ascension! So, that's pretty good too, right? That's the exact drawing in the book, and everybody would completely comprehend it, even if I didn't put words in around it. Ascension. But the other part of it is that when you do have these moments, whether it's a full plateau or a slip back, other things happen at the same time that are not always pleasant. And I know I've told you about the fact that because you are a mind and a body and a spirit, that when you are becoming more enlightened, you're letting more into your whole being. So what's eternal and what was born of the earth can only fit into this sphere of you-ness. And when you are unenlightened, when you're masked and layered, when you've got a lot of baggage from childhood and a lot of misbeliefs and you feel very, very human, the earth part, the part that is born of the earth and the mind that's born of the earth, it takes over a bigger chunk of your whole being. So what happens is to try to normalize that again, when you're going through intentional enlightenment and you're seeking and you're discovering and you're reading and you're growing and you're getting your aha moments, is that the spirit and your consciousness that you're born with has to take back some space, which means that the body and the earth mind have to make room for it. It sometimes feels like a giving up feeling to your earth mind and your earth body. So what can be common, side effects of enlightenment, is crying for no reason. Very, very, very common. And for men and women, it's not a girl thing. It has nothing to do with hormones. It's a different kind of crying for no reason than one that you might have blamed on hormones. It's that you're going to do your normal earth stuff. You're going to blame the first person that walks by your desk or walks into your kitchen. You will do that. You'll do your normal earth stuff to say that someone is causing this feeling in me. But then when you step back, you're like, oh, that was a little rude. I don't really think it's his fault, you know? I'm the one that left the crumbs on the counter. Why am I yelling at him for not cleaning them up? That's not the reason I feel this way. When you start to acknowledge that it's not an outside stimulus that is causing you to feel this discomfort, then you begin to accept that there's not a really logical explanation for why you're crying for no reason. If you live with someone who's compassionate and understands that you're a whole and healthy being and that you can manage these times, and they give you space, and you tell them, there's nothing wrong, I know this is going to pass, but just let me have this, because I don't need to explain it to myself or to anyone else. If you live with someone like that, you can separate yourself and go cry it out, whether it's for an hour or 15 minutes or 2 days. But that helps the body make room for more spirit to be living within your existence. It helps to peel off the human stuff and let more of your wholeness become a part of the sphere, of the whole sphere of mind and body and spirit. So that's one experience that you can have. Can anyone relate to this? I mean, I see a lot of people nodding. And the interesting thing about it is, even like the crying for no reason, I always found that it ended with like a sensation of joy, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, right? It ends with this joyful feeling that is also impossible to explain. And that's another part of the whole process. But because we're conditioned to explain crying so much through earthly means, we can't necessarily interpret what it is that's happening. But it's an important part of the journey. And you are shedding things from earth that no longer support you. You're cleaning things out that no longer are going to walk with you into the next, your next ascension, into your next moment. It is a way of shedding, and I don't just mean in a traditional way where cry it out. It's not the same. It really is getting rid of the stuff that you've worked to get rid of. You are getting rid of the stuff that you worked. That's why it ends and culminates in a feeling of joy. That's why there's this feeling of optimism or hope, or you get the chills, or just something good happens. So the first thing is, understand that that's a process of it, okay? That's one byproduct. 2 more I want to tell you about, but it's after 8, so I want to give you a break to have a cup of coffee, to mingle, and use the restrooms if you need to, whatever you want to do. And we'll come back in 5 minutes, okay? Oh, well. You know what I totally forgot before? I'm sorry, Michelle. But I forgot to let you speak earlier. Michelle. I think it's the first time I forgot. I've had stuff on my. I've been out of my body a little more than usual lately. So our stuff is hard to remember. Okay, good. Anything you want to fill us in about what's going on?
We have a hot walk coming up in September, so it would be pretty awesome to have an enlightenment team that is enlightened in mind, body, and spirit, walking for the Heart Association. That's it.
What's the date?
That's good.
Yeah, what was the date?
And it's really nice. September 22nd. It's on a Sunday.
September 22nd.
It'd be nice to,
September 22nd. I'm repeating it.
It's September 22nd, and maybe we should just get a whole big team together and just go and walk. And maybe what you'll do is have other people recognize what you're doing, and that it is all connected, and that we do have to do it all together. So there you go.
Nice.
So I will get information out to everybody.
That's a perfect time of the year for a walk, too.
It is.
End of September. That's a great,
And it's going to
great
be on
thing.
the boardwalk. The boardwalk is great.
Yeah, it's good.
Michelle, how are you going to get information to us? At the August meeting or?
The August meeting we're not having here.
Oh, right.
You will be able to get it at the September meeting and on the
And
website.
I could even, how can I get it there?
Can you put the website on?
You know what? Send me the details and I'll put it up on my calendar. My Sunday calendar.
Thank you.
Okay.
Why don't you make a list?
Yeah, make it
sign up on your list.
Yeah, well, I'll make a link to however they would register right on
We
there.
could
Just send me
that.
the information by email.
I could
Okay?
even set up a page and everybody can go on that.
Okay.
I can do that.
So I'll just have that link to that. So you give me the link, I'll put it up on my calendar, and then people
But
can
it's a
register right through
celebration,
there.
and I think it would be pretty perfect to have everybody all together.
We could
Good
be Team
idea.
Garvey?
Yeah,
I gotta get a T-shirt.
Karen's picture.
Yeah, cool. So you know what everybody eats them What? Short dress. I'll send it. And then we'll send out an email to everybody, and then you can get everybody, whoever you want to.
That's a great idea, I'll put it up on my calendar.
Awesome.
Can we get t-shirts with that picture on it?
Yeah! If you don't, you can write, if you don't know what this means, there's something wrong with you.
You're not on our team.
It looks like you're not invitable.
You're right.
Is there a graphic artist in the room that can convert this for my next book?
When is that?
I've got 4 of them downloaded. 4 books are downloaded here if anyone wants to buy one. I'll give you the conscious energy version, not the Kindle version or the hardcover, but just the conscious energy person cover. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? That would be so easy. All right, getting back to crying for no reason and other symptoms of ascension. All right.
How about frustration and anger?
Yeah, we'll definitely get to those. We'll call them enlightenment symptoms, okay? That's what we're going to call them. Not Myers, symptoms of enlightenment.
Well, you look at it. So much better than depression.
So much nicer, right? It's just a symptom of enlightenment. Symptom of ascension.
Maybe you should do commercials on television.
Do you have any of these symptoms?
Do you have any of these symptoms?
Side effects may include. Crying for no reason.
Right. Do you feel lonely?
I never liked the word I love it. That's how we're going to get the 1,000-person seminars.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that. That's really good. I don't know if I can get serious again. Okay. Crying for no reason. Laughing is a symptom that you have it. Not okay. All right, one of the things I didn't say about the crying for no reason is that sometimes there's a link. The crying for no reason has a real reason, but you are not consciously aware of it because it can extend beyond your recollection. It can extend from a past life. It can extend from something that you just have no consciousness whatsoever in the thinking part of you. And I want to give you a really interesting example of something that happened to me during the beginning process. I had so many nutty things happen, but I learned so much from one experience that I generally didn't have to repeat it or have it in a different vehicle or in a different circumstance. I would learn from it in one time. So I don't remember what year the movie came out, Brokeback Mountain. Does anyone know what year that was? I don't remember. But anyway, so I go and I see Brokeback Mountain on a Sunday afternoon. No matter what you think about the movie, you know, if you have a heart, you could see you would shed a tear. You know, I mean, it could capture your heart. So I'm watching the movie, no relation whatsoever in my personal life to anything going on in that movie whatsoever. And at the end of the movie, within the last half hour of the movie, I start to cry. And I continue to cry for the next 2 hours straight without a break. And I couldn't stop. And I'm just trying to, I'm like, I know there's nothing wrong. I know somehow this is normal. I know that it's not exactly 2005 was the year. Okay, so that was my year I started, was 2005, right?
Wow.
Pretty wild. So, and I knew it was going to be okay. I had this very good intuition that I was crying for no reason, but there was a reason, but I didn't have to know the reason, and that the experience was going to end. And the critical point there is that I didn't have to know the reason. So I could be at peace in this unexplainable situation. I explained to my family that I'm having this experience. It looks a little weird from the outside. I'm going to tell you it's really normal on the inside. You don't have to worry about me. I am fine. Maybe one day I'll be able to explain this to you, but I don't feel the need to figure it out myself right now. But I know it's okay. So I got them to feel at peace with it as well, because it's a little odd. Now, at this point, I'm out of my body on a regular basis. This is when I was spending approximately 2 hours a day communicating with guides. 2 hours a day, a lot can happen. And in the next day, that was a Sunday, so the next day I was still sobby, and new word, sobby, and then on Tuesday, I had enough clarity again to start, in that 2 hours out of my body, to start to say, what the heck happened here? Give me an explanation. I want to understand. What happened when I started to form the thought of curiosity, like what happened was, I entered into a past life. I could tell you dates, places. I could tell you the fabric on my drapes. I could tell you what the room looked like, smelled like. I could tell you everything. I knew the entire layout of the place I was in. I knew everything. And in that lifetime, I was male, and I was a homosexual male. And what I was brought to was who my partner was in that lifetime, and how we came together but were separate, and came together and were separate, and came together and were separate. And in that lifetime, my partner was married and had 5 children and was keeping the illusion of that life, and I was the one in the behind closed doors. So I knew that I would never have the opportunity to co-create reality with him, and I understood all in this one experience out of my body, I understood all the stigma that came with choosing this life and not really being allowed to be with the one that I loved. And all of a sudden, when I got myself into that past life, where my guides gently brought me into it, I could see it, feel it, I could feel every aspect of it, I could feel every heart part, I could feel every physical part of it, as though I was there and it was today. I was right there. Then I got to understand what happened when I saw the movie. So what I was allowing myself to do was to let love in. That was the purpose of the crying, to let love in. When you're living in something that's not aligned with love, by having to keep something in a closet or keep something secret. You're constantly holding something back. If you choose a lifestyle where you are not allowed to live to the joy and love that you want to live, you're holding something back. You're tempering the vibration that you can experience in this lifetime. You're holding back love. So the reason for my crying when I saw that movie was I was releasing the hold back of love from 400 years ago. And I was letting love in. And in this lifetime, I let love in. I don't hold love back or push love back because of other people's ideas or expectations or beliefs. I let love in now. So I don't have to, in my next lifetime, have these enormous moments of shedding or having masks and layers because I kept love out. I can let it in now. But the thing about it happening to me in one succinct moment is that I got to understand that the crying for no reason has a very, very, very good reason. And if you're not able to do the things that I do in entering into past lives and entering into other people's dreams and getting the answers in such a direct and visible and real way, you don't have to worry about having it that clear, the clear connection. You can just accept that these experiences are allowing you to let love in. So the growth comes when you're letting love in. You're letting spirit and eternal, which is also synonyms for love, you're letting it into your earth life, and that over greedy body is letting you let it in, and it's giving up a little bit of its space to let love in. The other thing that I want to mention, and this is like, sometimes I start talking about something like this and I feel like the biology teacher, and he opens up the book, and today is the day we're going to talk about human sexuality. My biology teacher in 9th grade, he was such a great guy. I loved him to pieces. And he was so interactive with everybody, and he would have eye contact. And then all of a sudden one day, he opened up the book, and it said human sexuality. And for the next 3 days, he spoke to the top of the wall. And it was like so funny to witness a 14-year-old kid watching this man that's just like totally embarrassed about talking about body functions, right? So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to try to look at you. But maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just look right there. I'm going to try to look at you. But, the most representative, the most similar experience we can have to being in the energy realm is a really good orgasm, okay? It's when you have a release. It's when you are living as a soul. It will as closely duplicate the sensation of being in the energy realm as we can really get to on Earth. So one of the things about that experience is sometimes you also feel like crying. And it doesn't mean that the sex was bad. It means that you are, well, maybe that was, but in some cases, if it's a good sensation, it means that you let love in. You had a remembrance of what it's like to be a soul. You remembered it, and you allowed yourself to experience. My phone is going off. Does that mean I'm not supposed to talk about this? Someone from Whoa! Put the readings up. Could you just tone it down a little minute, because we don't have that time delay of listening out what you say? No. It really was. Like, oh, what good timing. But optimally, when you can create that sensation and it's mutually beneficial and you feel wonderful and loved and supported and you feel free and you might feel like crying, that is the same thing. You're letting spirit in. You're remembering how it feels to be loved, to let go of all of the human stuff that we constantly fight with and worry about. It's your release from the straps of the human existence. It's a chance to get a glimpse of what it feels like to be a soul. When you can have a moment like that, it's duplicating as close as humanly possible to that experience of being a soul without a body. So, crying for no reason. There is a reason, and you don't have to know what it is. Just know that you're letting more love in. All right, another symptom of ascension. Here's a funny one. We think we want to be happy. However, we live in a band. We live in a band. Whatever that band is, I've shown it to you a lot of times, whether it's -20 to -40, or -60 to -80, or even -10 to -15. We live in a band. You might have little moments where you go lower and you feel less happy. You might have little moments where you spike above the line and feel better. But for the most part, you spend your median time in a band. And whatever that band is, as ugly as it might be inside that band, it is familiar and you're used to it. So when you pop out of it, it's very scary and it feels unfamiliar. And you're going to have some natural reactions to go back to the space where you were, even if you claim to want to be at a higher place, even if you claim to want to become closer to the vibration of love. When you actually start to feel it, it's scary. So what happens is, I'll call it snap back. Snap back. We snap back. All right, like an elastic band. Snap back. We snap back. A great example that everybody can relate to, because you've heard it happen on Earth, is a person who has struggled their whole lives with money. They've always had a scarcity mentality, and then they win a big, big, big lottery. How long does the money last?
No.
Snap back. Because you live in a band. And unless you are working toward permanently releasing, permanently getting rid of masks and layers, you're going to snap back to that range that you lived in. And that range will include whatever you are experiencing as far as the fulfillment in your relationships, the fulfillment in your relationship with your healthfulness, and your relationship with money. You have almost 3 separate bands within one band. Your relationship with others, your relationship with your body, and your relationship with money. And when you gravitate toward stepping out of the band in one of those, if you're not doing the things to exercise the muscles to support your growth and to stay in a new band, you're going to snap back. Okay? So what you want to do is, if you recognize snap back, prepare yourself for it by going through some of the tools that we talk about all the time, and have them prepared. If I told you there's going to be a major hurricane tomorrow, you guys are going to stop by and pick up a gallon of milk, you're going to get a case of water, you're going to get batteries for your flashlight, you're going to do all the things that you know to do, because you're going to be without power, all right? So if you know that snap back happens, you can easily prepare for the storm in advance. Have your tools ready when you're embarking on something, okay? A very, very simple example from my own life was that I was raised in a family where if we're A, B, C, D, and E, if that's the 5 of us, A would talk to B and ask B to talk to C, and then C would talk to A, all right? And it was never about happy things like who wants to go to the beach. It was always about whatever everyone is doing wrong, okay? So when I'm going through all this, I'm saying to myself, I don't want to be in that anymore. I want to be out of that. And so I did these tricks to get myself out of it by consistently saying the same things over and over. If you have a problem with D, why don't you talk to D, right? Or that sounds like something maybe B would want to know about. Why don't you talk to B? So I stopped being the converter. I was the converter in the family, or the translator. I don't know what. I was the one smoothing the edges. So when I started to tell everyone to get their stuff together, linked between them, they actually began to do it. I mean, I made them mad. They tried to pull me back in. They called twice as often. You know, they tried to keep their own band going the way it was. But over time, because I was so consistent, they accidentally let me out of the loop. The first time I found out that there was a crisis, and we'll call me A, B, C, and D, and E were all in the middle of the crisis, sharing pity stories and stuff, I was pissed. So I was so ready to just pick that phone up and say, I heard what happened, or how did that happen, or how are you feeling, or whatever. I can't believe he said that. Why did she say this? I was so ready. And I had to physically resist picking up the telephone. I had to physically resist. It was weird. I would walk through, my mind would be going, and I'd pick up the phone. I'd have to force myself, compel myself not to pick up that phone, to go back into what I had so much prepared myself to get out of. So you have to be alert when you do take the steps to get out of something that is no longer serving you, and then replace it with things that are making you happy. So whatever it is that you can turn your attention to, whether it's listening to music or reading a book or playing with a puppy or going for a walk on the beach, intentionally take yourself out of that elastic moment, the snap back, and compel yourself to do something different over and over and over again until you accept your new level of happiness. It takes a while to accept your new level of happiness. Okay? And that leads me into another byproduct of ascension. When you are increasing your band, there's some people who don't want you anymore. And even though you don't want them, that's not relevant, right? It doesn't matter that you don't want them. The only thing that matters is that they don't want you.
You don't belong anywhere.
Yeah. So sometimes it's not a big drama thing where they leave. They're just not energetically vibrating in your vibration anymore. So with grace, a lot of them leave. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're like, wow, she hasn't called in like 6 days. You know, what's up with that? And so what do? You pick up your antique razor phone and you call, right? No, because you remember to stay conscious, so you put your phone back down and you don't call, and you say to yourself, I'm happier without her in my presence. I feel freer. I have more space to do the things that I want. I'm magnetizing in this empty space people that I want to be with. So don't make the phone call. Don't make the phone call. We tend to look at how other people, how they interact with us habitually as a reflection of our worth. And if someone starts to pull back or is spending less time or communicating with you less or doing anything less with you, even if you don't want them in your life, you take it as a reflection of your value and your worth, or what did you do wrong, or what did you do that needs to be fixed. None of it is true. It's just the story you're putting on the natural rhythm of people leaving your life when you increase your band. When you are increasing your vibrational energy, there are going to be people that leave, and it is natural. You know, we don't like to get to the point where we have to kick somebody out, but mostly the universe is going to help you do it with grace. So don't sabotage it by pulling them back in. Feel good about yourself anyway, even if someone that you don't want in your life is leaving your life. So despite the fact that they're spending less time communicating with you or being with you, don't use that as a reflection of your worth. Use them starting to slip away as a reflection of your worth. That you're at a new vibrational energy, and that you're allowing yourself to magnetize in and bring in people, experiences, circumstances, and ideas, and free time and playtime that serve who you are becoming. Does that make sense?
Isn't it the perception of guilt? And
Also, what did I do wrong?
That
What did I
people
do
make that
wrong?
call.
Yeah.
And not willing to leave the phone and be silent.
Yeah.
Being silent is one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
It is. You know,
It's one of the most-
what are you going to do?
It is
Do
one of the most
nothing.
powerful things to do.
Yeah.
The best thing to do, I
It's enormous.
agree.
It's enormous.
It's so hard. It's very powerful. Do nothing.
It is. All right, so getting back to that feeling of wanting people to come back into your life and being conscious enough to not invite them back in when you're not vibrating at the same level anymore. Here's one of the most difficult byproducts of the process of ascension. And here's one that I really don't hear people talking about lately, at all. But lately, like 3 clients in the last 2 weeks have described the same exact thing. I know what it is. I know all about it because I lived it. But to have 3 people in 2 weeks describe it and feel overwrought with it, it is time to talk about it more in public. And what it is that as you are elevating and as you are moving to a vibrational level that's greater than most of the people that you hang out with or most of the people in your day-to-day experience, there comes a moment of absolute loneliness and isolation and purposelessness. And it is so thorough that you wonder what the heck you're doing on Earth. You can't even imagine why you decided to come here, and you probably think you were one dumb soul to even make the decision to try it.
Yes.
And it's so thorough, and it's so predictable that I know I should put it in a book because it can help people to know that when you are experiencing it, that it is a normal process. It's just that particular plateau, when you start to realize all of the magnificence that exists, and from where you're looking down on Earth at that moment, and you see what's there and what people are doing to each other and the ugliness of it, when you start to see what's really possible, not when you're thinking what might be possible, but when you're seeing it and living it, you're like, what the heck? What do I want to do this for anymore? This is awful. This is so much better than that. I don't even know if I feel like doing this anymore. And the one way to describe it, my period of it lasted a wholehearted 4 or 5 months and about 6 months until I came out of it. And it was like living in a lucite container. And I would do all the things that normal people do, cook and sleep and go to parties and drink and eat and everything, and smile. But I felt like I was 100% invisible. And I also felt like I was 100% empty. And I couldn't connect or relate to the things going on outside me. And I would get through a day, and for me, where I would connect again was because I was still spending 2 hours a day out of my body. I just couldn't wait for that moment of those 2 hours. And so I could kind of rejuvenate every day, so it didn't become, something where I didn't care to go on, because I did have that 2 hours every day where I could get connected with something greater than myself or my experiences. And despite it all, I still maintained this intuitive feeling of hope that this also was temporary. The strangest thing is that every time I went through one of these experiences, I always felt like it was temporary. Not that I would know when it would end or what would make it end. I just had a sense that it was going to go away and that it would fade. And that's usually what propelled me through it. Now that, in particular, what it is that when you get to re-experience some of the soulful ways of living when we're not in physical form, it is ecstatic and it is peaceful and it is blissful. And it's kind of like turns a sharp, harsh light onto the things that are separated from the vibration of love and makes them more apparent. It kind of exacerbates what's wrong before you get to convert to what is right. So in that moment, I think of it as like the step of the plateau where you go deep into the cave. You go so deep into it, you're almost forgetting any direction. And when you're in there, it feels very lonely. But the thing about it is that if you can use certain little tools to get through it on a day-to-day basis, and you do have this thorough understanding that it's temporary, you can accelerate yourself through that process. And any client I've ever had that goes through it, when they're talking to me about it, they never take the 4 to 6 months that I took to go through it. They can go through it in
in hours or days or weeks. I've never seen anyone go through it in 4 to 6 months the way that I did. The reason I went through it that way was because I had no frame of reference. I didn't have someone that had gone through what I was going through that could explain it to me. But as soon as I explain it to them, and I can also give them intuitive details about exactly why they're experiencing their perspective, then they can take ownership of it and kind of release the painful part of it and feel like it's okay because the sun's going to come out again soon and this storm will pass, and I know that it's purposeful. I know that this is a way for me to continue to shed needing to be a part of this chaos down here. I don't have to be a part of this anymore. I've been managing snapbacks. I've been managing crying for no reason. I've been managing people leaving my life and letting them go. I've been managing a little bit more of the difficulty of letting people go with a little bit of a push if they're not leaving. I've been through all of this. Now I accept that I am not here. I accept that I am here. And I know from everything I've ever heard that the place I'm at is better than the place I've come from. Being closer to the vibration of love is better. It feels better. That's where happiness comes from. Happiness comes from vibrating closer to the vibration of love. So little by little, you'll walk to the mouth of the cave again, and you'll start to see things popping in that never came in before. Things that are new and fresh and happy. New things, and you're like, how on earth did I miss this my whole entire life? My whole entire life. It's like a whole brand new world. Like to sit at a party where everybody's drinking and to have time at a party and to not have to talk about politics or the weather or what just happened with one stock. I mean, to actually talk about real things at a party where you didn't know someone, it's like, wow, there is this whole secret society of cool people, and all of a sudden they're starting to find me. And then you get little other glimmers of, this is going to be okay. You start to feel more than compassion for other people. You start to accept in a real way, not just in your mind, that everybody is doing the best that they can within their level of awareness. You start to live in that you know that their level of awareness is different than yours, but it's okay because you don't need to judge where they are in theirs. I might have told you some of these stories of things that happened to me. They start to sound like parables or something, but I probably told you the story that at Easter time, a man was trying to trump me. He was trying to show that his level of awareness was greater than mine. Why, I don't know, because I really didn't care where mine was or his was, but this seems to be important to him. So he posed the question to me that, he's like, if you saw a homeless man that had nowhere to eat on Easter, what would you do? Would you just keep walking by, or would you invite him in to share Easter dinner with your family? And he thought he won because he thinks, I'm not going to bring a homeless guy home and have Easter dinner with my family. Well, first of all, I don't really care about Easter, but that was besides the point. We're not going to have that conversation. But I wasn't going there. I wasn't going to start having a philosophical conversation about Easter, so I didn't. So instead I said, well, I don't know that it would get to that point that I would think, should I invite him home for dinner, because I wouldn't get to the point that I was judging the experience that he was having, thinking that having dinner with my family was superior to how he was spending the day. Right?
Very good.
So that's when you start to realize you can get above compassion. You can say that no judgment means no judgment.
Exactly.
That how you're spending today is okay. If you want to spend your day differently, and I can have anything to do with you spending it in a way that might support your happiness in a different way, you'll enter into my world and ask for permission for me to be that avenue for you. But if you don't ask me, then I'm not going to assume that you're not happy with exactly where you are, at your level of awareness, in your happiness right now, at your vibrational energy, at your ability to vibrate close to the vibration of love. And so when these things start to happen, the world around you is not as painful as it used to be. When you see the results of war, or you see the results of disease, or you think that somebody's been randomly struck with an illness, when you see things now, you start to have a comprehension of it all that makes it painless to be a part of existence in this earth world. And that's when these byproducts that seem so negative and so stunting or so stagnant, they start to dissolve. And you actually get to live on a regular basis as a soul. I had the ultimate compliment come from a client about a month ago. She's a weekly client. We've been working together for a while. And one day we got on the phone and she said, Karen, I have to tell you something. She's like, every week we do this, and I have my notes, I have my 300 written pages, and I review them, and I do all this stuff. But she said, today was the first day I woke up and I realized I wake up happy every day, and I never used to.
Yeah.
And then you know. You know it was worth it, it's doable, and you know that you did it, and then you know that the overflow of the vibration of love that you're experiencing naturally falls onto other people. And that in the natural course, people are going to invite you in to share it. You don't have to force yourself on anybody. You don't have to push awakenings or awarenesses on anybody. They will come to you. They'll knock right at your door when they're ready for something that you can provide them. They'll be right there for you, right there for you. And it'll feel so good to contribute because it is the natural extension of vibrating closer to the vibration of love. One of the things I loved when I was a kid is I loved sparklers. No matter what other kind of fireworks there were, sparklers were my thing. I loved the sight of them, the sound of them, running around and drawing sentences with them, and I loved the smell of them. Loved the smell of them. And I think because I love sparklers so much, my guys always use a sparkler as a symbol of all that is and the sparks that come off. And so when you ascend and you're increasing your vibrational energy, the original sparkler that you're carrying as a piece of all that is becomes brighter and brighter and brighter. So the sparks are flying so much more than they ever flew before, which means they're touching so many more people. And so many more people can see the bright light and benefit from the bright light and the awesome smell of the sparkler. That's it, people. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. If you like that, then come to life, okay, people? Because you'll get more, all right? Thank you very much for being here. And since we're not going to be together in August, I really hope to see you at the Sunset Beach Party on August 6th. Like I said, it's a really good time. Okay? It's a really good time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We're going to have a rock.
That's a question.
Yeah.